How's it going, everybody? On the road DFS coming at you again here, talking some more Olympic basketball. In today's episode, we're going to be checking out the USA versus Spain matchup. Let's quickly look at what has led up to this game here, as Spain actually just lost to Slovenia 95-87 that in their most recent game. And then the U.S. just beat the Czech Republic 119-84, and we covered that video for you here last time talking about that matchup. So both teams are 2-1 heading into this matchup, and just overall expecting a much closer game than what the U.S. has gone up against in the last two games, being Iran and the Czech Republic. Betting line specifically here, money line is Spain plus 560, U.S. minus 1,000. The spread, Spain plus 11.5, USA minus 11.5. And the total here is 179.5, with the over being minus 112 and the under minus 108. So interesting there. If I was going to do any of these, I'd probably again go for the total. I don't know which direction I'd go, but I just think in some of these it could be at least kind of a blowout type game, although this one probably won't blow out as much as some of the others, but I kind of like to stick with something a little more predictable, like maybe the over-under, but that's just me personally. Overall game prediction here, according to Fanduel, is that the USA is projected to defeat Spain 96-84. So that should be a solid 12-point win there for the United States. All right, that's all I have for the betting side of this game. We're going to turn it on over here to the FanDuel side.
On the road, FanDuel predictions.
We're going to cover the U.S. side here first, starting, of course, with our guy, Kevin Durant. He's been up at the top for every single game. I think he's going to stay at the top for every single game. He's no longer 15.5, though. They kept him at 15,000 despite his best game yet against the Czech Republic. He actually did better than he did against Iran, and he was the top scorer for the Iran game. So the way he's been playing, I see no reason not to play him aside from the price tag. But, I mean, if he's going to consistently be the high scorer, which the last two games he has been here, I'd roll with them at 15,000. I like playing KD. I don't think he's going to have a game like he did against France. I don't really know what that France game was all about, really. The whole team looked bad for the most part, aside from Drew Holiday and Bam Adebayo. But I don't think I see KD doing that again. Next up, we have Jason Tatum. And I've been calling for a good Tatum game for a while now, and we finally got it. 34.9. Pretty solid game there against the Czech Republic. I was happy to see him have a good game there. Shot the ball very well with 5 3-pointers, 10 field goals overall. I mean, that's almost like, it's kind of similar nearly to like the Damian Lillard game against Iran, except that Tatum also had 2 blocks in there. So didn't do quite as much of scoring as Dame did in that game, but happy to see Tatum come alive. I don't think he's going to do that against Spain, quite honestly. I could see him taking some steps backwards in this game, but maybe like 25 from Tatum might be a reasonable estimate, but I'm really looking for him to assert himself in these Olympics. So if he does have another great game, he might really finally start to get his groove here, and be prepared. If he can put 2 really good games in a row together, he might have just good games here on out. We'll just have to see. Drew Holiday here at 13,000, and this is Mr. Consistency here. If you want a pretty safe play, although not the cheapest play, also not the most expensive play, but more on the expensive side overall, you could go to Drew Holiday just for some consistency in your lineup. His worst game was 25.3 against Iran. So his minutes are going to be there. They rely on him a lot defensively and offensively, actually, but generally he's known as a defensive guy. But, I mean, you can see he's had a steal, at least 1 steal in every game. He had 3 of them last game. And he's actually had a block. He had 2 blocks against Iran in 2 of the 3 games as well. and those are big point stats on FanDuel. So if he's doing that on top of his scoring, I really like the Drew Holiday play for 13,000. Damian Lillard at 12,000 here. And honestly, I do like the price quite a lot. This is the cheapest we've had Damian Lillard ever. He was 13.5 for the first game against France. Then he stayed at 14,000 the next 2 games. So we're getting quite the sale here on Damian Lillard at 12,000. Now, that doesn't mean he won't turn around and do exactly what he just did here with the 19.1, and then he had 18.1 against France, but he was on fire against Iran. The thing to keep in mind is it was Iran there. I mean, a lot of guys had very good games. There was plenty of scoring to go around. And for that reason, I gotta say, I don't think Damian Lillard has really impressed me too much in these Olympics as a whole. But that does not mean he won't catch fire next game. He's Damian Lillard. He can turn it on at the snap of a finger, you know. So for 12,000, you have the potential to have a great Damian Lillard game. And I'm honestly kind of willing to take that chance. Earlier, game 1, I said Chris Middleton for 12,000. That's not a chance I really like to take for that much salary. Damian Lillard for 12,000? Now we're talking. That's the type of chance that I might be willing to take at 12,000. Zach LaVine, 12.5 thousand. I think it's a little expensive. I know he's had 2 pretty good games here in a row now. I don't know. Against Spain in a game that I don't think will blow out majorly. I mean, you never know who's going to be, you know, one of the top guys from the U.S. It's hard to say on a game-to-game basis. But I did feel a little better about LaVine in the games that I thought were going to blow out big time, like Iran, you know, Czech Republic. This is predicted to be a 12-point U.S. victory here. I don't know if I feel as great about going to LaVine here for 12.5K. If he was less, then I might take a serious look at it. I'll sprinkle in a little LaVine into my lineups here and there, but I don't think I'm going to be doing any major LaVine plays here for 12.5. Devin Booker, 10.5 here, 10.5K. Very, very poor game last game, and that brought his price back down, and it had gone up because he had a great game the game before that. 2 of his 3 games, though, not good. I don't know if I'm going to pay 10,500, but here's the thing about this. People are probably not going to play him very heavily in this coming game because of what just happened here. And, I mean, I don't know. This could be a way to really differentiate your lineup. If Booker has a bounce-back game here, I could definitely see that helping a lineup be very unique for sure, because people like to follow the good games. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see Tatum's percentage up a lot more than what it was last game. Booker's percentage is going to be way down. You could see that drop. I could see that dropping possibly 10% or more ownership percentage on Devin Booker. Reason being, his percentage of ownership was already really inflated from how good of a game he had right before that. I would not be surprised to see a dramatic drop in his ownership percentage. And the only issue is, again, he's a bench guy that I feel a little better about in blowouts, but in a potential maybe 12-ish point win, there is definitely space for Booker to have a good game. Chris Middleton, 10,000. He had his best game yet last game against the Czech Republic, but keep in mind that was 20.3 points here. So he has actually improved every single game up to this point, so that's a good sign. The bad sign is just none of the games have been great so far. He started off with like 5.7, and what do we have here? 15.4, so he just about tripled it the next game. 20.3, just about added 5 more to it that game. So does he go for like a 25-point game next game? I mean, I could see it, I guess, but 10,000 for maybe 25 points, I don't know. I don't love that, honestly. And again, it's a bench guy that I feel better about in a blowout. For a matchup like this, I really do think you want to stack as many starters for both teams as you can. for those other matchups, you could really justify getting to some of those bench guys, honestly prioritizing some of those bench guys. But for a matchup like this, I think you got to go back to looking for as many starters as possible. Bam Adebayo, 9.5. I'm going to own up to last game because I thought his price was too low then, and his price is down even lower now because he had a bad game last game. And I mean, I paid for it as well. I played a lot of Bam last game. Did not do well, 14.1. But his price is down to 9.5 now. And you got to keep in mind, he was the second most expensive player from the U.S. coming into these Olympics. They put him at $14,000 in the first game against France. And at first, it looked like he was going to justify that price because he had that good game. The interesting thing here is he has not played as well when the U.S. has been winning. In the game they lost against France, he had his best game. And it might have to do with Gobert. Like, they had to have him out there a lot more for Gobert. So keep in mind here with the Gasol brothers and Hernan Gomez, there are some legit bigs on Spain. If this follows the same kind of trajectory that the France-US game played, with Bam having a big game because they relied on him more to deal with the bigs of France, you could see something like that possibly. And Bam at 9.5, if he does anything similar at all to what he did against France, this will be an absolute steal. So it's your call whether you think that the U.S. is going to use him similarly to how they did against France, against Spain. But from a matchup perspective, I think it makes sense for Bam to have a good game against Spain. But we will just have to wait and see on that one. Draymond Green here, he just really has not been having the game I keep talking about. I keep saying I think at least once in these Olympics, Draymond Green is going to crush value. And I stand by that. I think it still could happen, but it just has not happened yet. And it could happen against Spain. It could happen against the next opponent. Who knows? But the 14-8 against the Czech Republic, a little bit better than he did against Iran, but not great. He is not